have a couple cool things happening today. One, I have an appointment with my neurologist, just a general follow-up, so I'm going to be going there later this morning. Two, it is Judd's last day of the academy. He is graduating the Law Enforcement Academy tomorrow, which also happens to be my birthday. I'll be 21 tomorrow. And we are so proud and excited for him. Yesterday, we went out to do a few errands, and I'm actually still feeling pretty thoroughly exhausted from that, but it was worth it, especially because I got these really cute flats at Target. I don't know about y'all, but I love Target flats. And the way I break in flats is I get a pair of wet socks and I just put my feet in the flats and I wear them around all day. So judge me if you might, but it has worked really well in the past. So that's what I'm going to do today to break in these flats because they go with my outfit that I'm wearing tomorrow to his graduation. And today also happens to be infusion day. I get infusions 3 times a week through my port for my postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is my form of autonomic dysfunction. It helps with my symptoms of dizziness, weakness, fainting, and all the other debilitating issues that come with my POTS. So let me show you all the supplies for my infusions. So of course we have the infusion bags, which is saline and lactated ringers. That is saline with electrolytes. We got the tubing, a saline flush to check that my port is functioning properly, the pump, and some alcohol swabs. And then I just put everything in this little backpack, which is a Vera Bradley backpack I got on sale, and I can infuse on the go. Okay, I know I'm awkwardly close to the camera, but a lot of y'all were interested in this last time, and I wanted to give you a better view. So this is a needle that is in my port. I don't feel the needle when it's in, it just feels like nothing to me. And the port is a small device implanted under my skin with a catheter running to my heart so I can have repeated access and actually be accessed all the time for my emergency medications. Yes, I am accessed 24/7. You have to change the needle once a week. I do all of that and all my port care and medications and infusions all on my own. I had to be taught though, of course. So this is the saline flush. I'm just gonna push to make sure everything is working properly. I'm shaky for whatever reason. And then I'm going to draw back to check for blood return. That's how you ensure the needle's in the right place. There's going to be blood, so if you don't like that, don't watch. See? Blood return, perfect. And then I just flush the rest of it. Ta-da! And then I just get the tubing from the infusion bags, hook it up to here, turn the pump on, put everything in my backpack, and I'm good to go. Ta-da! I am all hooked up. My infusion bag and pump are in here, and I'm running smoothly. Perfect. And I wanted to show y'all something. I ordered this a long time ago. It just took a while for it to come in because I didn't have the right fabric or something like that. But anyways, I got my pouch. Yay! This isn't my emergency kit pouch. This is just where I keep extra supplies for my infusions, like alcohol swabs and swab caps and different things like that. And it fits perfectly in the front of my infusion bag. And I love the pattern, it's so pretty. Okay, so I'm gonna stop obsessing over that. And now I'm gonna hit the road to go to my neurologist. Alrighty, just making a quick stop at the neighborhood dog park to let Har run around and burn some energy before my appointment. And I am really proud of her, and not so much myself, because the sidewalk to get here, there is a worker with a leaf blower that is obnoxiously loud. And Harlow walked right by it without even looking at it, even though the wind was hitting her from it and it was so loud. She did great. That is a solid service dog right there. Of course she isn't perfect, but we're always making progress in different areas, and that made me really happy. I, on the other hand, was freaking out because of my sensory processing disorder. The guy finally realized I was having a really hard time with it, but I was trying to push through so I could get here to the dog park for Harlow. Oh gosh, yeah, if you want to learn more about my sensory processing disorder, watch yesterday's vlog, and now I'm gonna go play with my dog. It's a pretty big stick, Harlow. Harlow, get it! Alrighty, well, we are off to the doctor. Harlow, unfortunately, didn't really get all that long to play. One, I couldn't handle the noise even in the distance of the leaf blower, and two, I am kind of at threshold for temperature. See, my POTS makes me very heat sensitive because the whole issue with POTS is my heart has to work very hard to pump blood. When you become hot, your heart has to work even harder to pump blood because your blood vessels dilate, and so I am very heat intolerant. In fact, if it's above 77 degrees, that's where my threshold is, then if I'm outside for more than a few minutes, I will pass out, and it becomes an emergency situation because my body can't get blood to its vital organs and all that stuff. And
it can be really dangerous. Right now it's 76 degrees. I just wasn't feeling it, and I'm already not feeling great from all the errands we ran yesterday, so I didn't want to push myself. Came back to the car in the nice AC. I'm going to take a little bit of a rest and then hit the road to go to my doctor's appointment, which is kind of on the edge of my driving limit. I can only drive 25 minutes at a time safely, and my doctor is exactly 26 minutes away. So this morning is a little bit rough for me, but I know I can pull through. I got Harlow, I got my determination, and now I'm going to go see my neurologist.
So I'm here at the neurologist, just waiting for my doctor, and I gotta tell y'all, one cool perk of having a service dog is that when you're doing something weird, like wearing wet socks to break in some new flats, no one notices what you're doing because they're all so preoccupied with the pretty dog. Right, Harlow? Yeah, you good girl.
Well, the appointment went great. She said from a neurology standpoint, I'm doing as well as I can be. I mean, I'm still narcoleptic, I still have migraines, and I'm still going to be considered an epileptic, even though I'm over 2 years seizure-free, which is great, yay. She said to go ahead and let Mayo Clinic handle my migraine medication, because next week I'm going back to Mayo, and I have a geneticist follow-up, I see my internist again, and I see my neurologist, who's also in charge of my Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. He's the one who diagnosed me. And I'm getting Botox for the first time in my life to help with my migraines, and also to help with my hypermobile neck, which is very hypermobile from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it causes pain and inflammation, and I have a lot of issues there. So my Mayo neuro is going to be doing a special hypermobility protocol with like 27 needle sticks in my head and neck. Yikes. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to help your body. He said this should give me a lot of improvement because it's helped a lot of his other hypermobile patients. I'm just nervous because I hate needles, even though I deal with them all the time. But I'm not sure if I can do this anymore because of all the anaphylaxis I've been having. My neuro here says it should be fine, but I'm going to email the Mayo Clinic nurse just to be safe. And while I was in my appointment, I missed a call from the healthcare marketplace about my appeal for my insurance. And if y'all remember, my insurance plan was canceled by a system error in the marketplace, so I wasn't covered for all of January. In all of January, I was pretty much in the hospital, so I have a ton of uncovered medical bills, and I'm trying to do an appeal to get my coverage retroacted back to January 1st, and they got my packet last week. They said in the voicemail, and I need to call them back, so I'm going to go home, email the Mayo nurse, call the appeal marketplace center, and fingers crossed it's good news.
Well, I'm home now. I haven't emailed the Mayo nurse yet, but I'm going to. I called the Healthcare Marketplace Appeal Center, and they told me they just need bank statements proving that all of 2016 insurance premiums were paid for, so send that in, no big deal. I put some comfy clothes on, and I'm still breaking in these flats with my wet socks, and now I'm cooking some lunch. I want to be healthy, having some broccoli and carrots, and I'm also going to have some chicken. Ta-da! It's my healthy lunch! Yay! Because of my gastroparesis, I have to cook the vegetables very, very well because it's hard for me to digest raw food. I've got some tasty chicken, and I'm super excited for my healthy meal. Well, friends, I just slept for about an hour after I ate, and then I actually sorted out my doctor's appointment for the month. I have 10 medical appointments this month already, and more could possibly pop up. That's crazy. Like I said yesterday on Instagram, sometimes I feel like my life is just overrun with hospitals, ER trips, doctor's appointments, infusions, medications, but that's why I enjoy fun things like Judd and I having our non-medically related outside of the house adventure yesterday. You can watch yesterday's vlog to join us on that, and I just woke up from my nap feeling kind of groggy, but I think this nap will help me in the long run because I was kind of exhausted today after driving this morning. It really wears me out. And today is Rare Disease Day, which I think I knew about. I just didn't realize it until I saw all the Instagram posts. So I am going to do a little Q&A on my rare diseases at the end of this vlog. Judd's back home after his last day at the academy.
Wow, last full day.
Well, tomorrow
it's final PT test and graduation.
Yeah, but you're not going to be there, really. You just go in the morning for PT. Anyways, tell me about the Taser.
Taser was fun.
Was it? Did you link arms like in those videos we've seen?
No, they hook you up with the alligator clips, and I got it there and there, so not that bad of a spread.
Can you show people your shirt? I love this.
Embrace the suck.
I got him this shirt a while ago. Give no.
Yeah.
I like to wear it in the hospital.
My mom
That's
was
my
offended by it
attitude.
when I first got it. She's like, Judd.
And then she was like, Jackie, how could you get in that?
like that. And obviously, she didn't know where I was going at that time, so she was like, ah. But anyway, yeah, because it wasn't across your quadrants, so like it wasn't across like here and here, it didn't affect your whole body. But it still got me. I was laying down on my stomach and had to reach and try and grab a gun.
Are you
and
serious?
See, yeah, like a little chew toy gun, and freaking try and like turn around and shoot the person tasing us. That didn't happen. I completely forgot about that task, and I was just like, ah! It was bad. And then we got drive stun, which is where they just take without the prongs, just the actual electrical shock itself. They push it into you, and they're holding us, and they're like, "This is how it feels to be drive stun." Which is, they did it on my arm. First time we did it, and I was like, but that one was painful. I think more painful than getting the probes in you or the alligator clips in you.
Ugh. I don't think I want any. No thanks.
It was fun. Got certified.
Sweet. Proud of you.
Now time for a nap.
I just had one.
February 28th is Rare Disease Day. It's a day to bring awareness to the diseases that really need it because, well, no one knows about them. And in honor of Rare Disease Day, I'm going to go over all of my conditions that are considered rare. So before I made this video, I went online and looked up which of my chronic conditions would be considered rare, and a lot more of them came up than I thought would. And to be honest, I don't think all of these conditions are actually considered rare. I just think that so many people go wildly undiagnosed their entire life because they're hard to diagnose and there's just not enough awareness out there about them. So keep that in mind as I go through them. And since so many more of my chronic conditions came up as rare than I thought would, I'm just going to give a very brief overview of each of them. And in the near future, I'm going to make a very detailed YouTube video about all of my chronic conditions. I'm just waiting for the opportunity to buy a new camera that's going to have really good video quality, and so bear with me and just wait a little bit longer for that. So in honor of Rare Disease Day, let's go over my rare chronic conditions. First up is narcolepsy. Narcolepsy is a neurological sleep disorder characterized by chronic daytime sleepiness and other odd symptoms like cataplexy. Basically what happens is we are trying so hard to stay awake all the time because we have a fractured sleep cycle, meaning whenever we sleep, it's not restorative whatsoever. Research has shown that the average narcoleptic is functioning as if we have been awake for 72 hours straight. And it's not like the movies where people are just suddenly falling asleep and it's hysterical. It's actually really hard. People accuse us of being lazy when in fact we're fighting really hard all the time to function in a fast-paced society when we're chronically sleep deprived. Cataplexy is the type of narcolepsy I have. Narcolepsy with cataplexy, in which you have a sudden loss of muscle tone triggered by emotions. And it's because when you're asleep, your brain sends a chemical out to paralyze you during dreams so you don't move around. But when you have narcolepsy, that chemical gets released in the day when you experience a sudden emotion and you become temporarily paralyzed. So I used to have like 20 full body collapses of cataplexy a day just from laughing slightly or even smiling. That's how bad it was. Now that I'm on a good treatment, sometimes my knees will just buckle or I'll drop something. But narcolepsy and cataplexy can be very disruptive to your life. And like I said, I think that this is a lot more common. It's just that people go wildly undiagnosed because they think being tired is a part of life. But it's more than just being tired. It's being so sleepy that you're just falling asleep in way too many inappropriate places. So that is narcolepsy. My next disorder is something called cyclic vomiting syndrome, and it's actually a migraine variant disorder. And basically what happens is I'll have these cycles where I just puke and puke and puke and I cannot stop, and it gets very dangerous because I can become very dehydrated and all my electrolytes go out of balance and it's terrible. The only way I can stop it is if I get intravenous fluids and nausea medication, and even sometimes migraine medication, because like I said, it's a migraine variant. And even though the symptoms present as GI symptoms, it's a neurological disorder because it has to do with the brain-gut connection and it just gets disrupted. And some people are called calendar kids, where every certain amount of days, every like 28 days exactly, they'll have their cycle. And mine was trigger dependent, where something would have to trigger it, like a stressful event or becoming overheated, and my events would last for days unless I would go and get it aborted. And I'd have to because I would get sick so violently that I would actually pass out. And so that wasn't safe, obviously. Many hospital trips because of that, but thankfully I found a supplement called CoQ10, and taking high doses of that, like 600 milligrams a day,
has stopped my episodes from happening. And my last one was in April of last year when I had my wisdom teeth removed. That was enough to trigger an episode, but after that I haven't had one yet, so that's awesome. Another rare disease I have is called gastroparesis. This is delayed stomach emptying, in which your stomach is partially paralyzed and doesn't digest food properly. It causes a lot of problems. Stomach pain when eating, bloating, lack of appetite, inability to eat much of anything, weight loss. When I was in my last flare at the end of 2016, I almost had to go in a feeding tube for supplemental nutrition because I was losing so much weight and I just wasn't able to eat anything. And if I forced myself to eat, I would puke it back up. My stomach rejected it, it just couldn't handle it. Some people are on permanent feeding tubes because their gastroparesis is that severe. So this isn't a disorder to envy because people are able to lose weight. It's very serious. You can have starvation problems from it. You can have issues with malnutrition from it, as I did in my flare. So don't envy people because they're losing weight from their gastroparesis. It's a very serious disease. I was very, very ill when I was in my flare, but thankfully I have come out of it, and I think it's partially due to my infusions. So that is all about gastroparesis. This next one may be an actual rare disease that not a lot of people are affected by, not because they're just underdiagnosed, but who am I to know? I'm just here to spread awareness. It's called median arcuate ligament syndrome, and basically a ligament in my abdominal area is compressing an artery, the celiac artery, and it causes a lot of digestive issues. Pain when eating, bloating, weight loss, lack of appetite, and the doctor who diagnosed me thinks it may even be contributing to my POTS symptoms and causing my gastroparesis. This is the only condition I have that is curable. But since it's so unknown and rare, I have to go out of state to a surgeon who knows about it to get an open abdominal surgery, which the recovery would be hard and it's just a lot to do. So right now I'm not stable enough health-wise to go through with that, but it's definitely something I'm considering if the surgeon I send my records to says I'm a good candidate for surgery. So nice to know I have a possibility for recovery from one of my conditions. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, or EDS, is the next condition I want to talk about. It's a genetic disorder in which my body cannot properly produce collagen. Collagen is the most abundant protein in your body, and it holds you together like glue, so without it, everything is loose and stretchy. I have type 3, hypermobility type, and that leads to my joints being very hypermobile because the tendons and everything around them are lacking collagen. And actually, my joints are so hypermobile, I struggle with dislocations from time to time. The joints most affected are my hips, ribs, lower back, and neck. My ribs pop out of place all the time. I've had my hips sublux a few times, which just partially dislocate. My lower back is always painful, and my neck is always hurting too, and the vertebrae in my neck actually slip out of place from time to time. Yes, it is very painful. A lot of people with EDS struggle with chronic pain majorly, and the neck problem is really bad because then it causes inflammation in the tendons and muscles around it, and it's just not fun. So that is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and my EDS actually feeds into my next rare disorder, which I don't think is rare at all. I just think it's very underdiagnosed and unknown, and that is POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. This is a dysautonomia, which is dysfunction of the autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system, or ANS, is responsible for things you don't even think about. Blood flow, blood pressure, breathing, heart rate. So imagine having that dysfunction. It's not easy and not fun. And my EDS feeds into my dysautonomia because without the collagen, my blood vessels are very loose and stretchy. And so when the ANS tries to constrict them to regulate blood flow, it doesn't work as well. That's why the EDS feeds into my POTS. And basically what happens is when you go from a laying position, it's very easy to regulate blood flow, but when you stand, your heart tries to compensate for the difficulty of pumping blood up against gravity, and so your heart has to work very hard, and that's where the tachycardia comes from. It leads to symptoms like blood pooling in your limbs, dizziness, weakness, fainting, and a lot of other debilitating issues that come from POTS. Besides my allergy issues I've recently come into, POTS has to be my most debilitating medical condition, and so there's a brief overview of EDS and POTS. They do often go together, and now I'm going to talk about my next rare condition. So I've mentioned my allergy issues. Now, I am diagnosed with idiopathic anaphylaxis, which is just basically meaning the doctors don't know what's triggering my anaphylaxis. They happen at random. I think, and so do my doctors, I'm reacting to myself in a condition called mast cell activation disorder. I'm not diagnosed with it yet, but it's highly suspected that I have it. It's just that none of my local doctors know enough about it to confidently diagnose me with it. So they are sending me out to specialists. The next one I see is in Gainesville at UF Health. So anyway, mast cell activation disorder is characterized by when your mast cells in your body overreact and produce a lot of histamine and can create very severe allergic reactions like the one I'm having. This actually often goes with POTS and EDS, and they call it the Trinity because all three of them tend to go together. So I'm learning more about this as I go. It's likely that I have it, but again, not diagnosed yet. We're treating it as best as we can, and it's definitely debilitating. These allergic reactions have kind of taken over my life. I mean, I spent all of January in the hospital for anaphylaxis pretty much, and still dealing with it, have to administer IV Benadryl at the start of reactions to prevent it from getting anaphylaxis. And since December 27th, when I had my first anaphylactic episode, I've gone through more than 30 EpiPens. That's crazy. The last rare disorder I'm going to talk about is mitochondrial disease. I don't mention this very much because we don't know very much about my form yet. Mayo Clinic ran my entire genetic panel and my parents, including mitochondrial. Now, if you remember biology back in high school, your mitochondria are in your cell and they're the powerhouse of the cell. They produce the energy. And mitochondrial disease is when there's a disorder in the genetic makeup of the mitochondria, and it can affect every system, every organ, every part of you. This could explain why I have so many medical conditions. I mean, aside from the ones I just mentioned, I have 6 more that aren't considered rare that I haven't talked about, like asthma, migraines, epilepsy, sensory processing disorder, autism, and irritable bowel syndrome. So yeah, I'm a medical mess. Not typical. This genetic anomaly in my mitochondria could be why, but we don't know how much it affects me. All we know is that I have a homozygous, meaning all of them are affected. Usually it's heterozygous, meaning only some are affected. I have a homozygous mutation along all my mitochondria DNA. And I am only the 2nd person in the world who's been tested, and I think quite a lot of people have been tested to have this specific mutation. They took a small skin biopsy at my last appointment a few months ago to test it and see just how much this is affecting me. So next week I actually go back for the follow-up to get the results from that. So should be an interesting appointment. And that is a brief overview of all my rare, even though some of them I don't think are rare, just underdiagnosed conditions. Well, thank you for watching my little brief overview of all my rare conditions. Even though, like I said, I don't think all of those are really rare, I just think they're underdiagnosed. But I'm hoping to change that. That is why I'm so open about my story. I want to get the word out there about these conditions. The more people who know, the more people can get diagnosed. The more doctors who know, the more doctors will test for it. You know, I hate to think that people out there are living with these horrible conditions and they don't even have answers for why their body is not working with them, why their body's malfunctioning. We deserve to know what's going on with our bodies. You know, this year's theme is research, and research can lead to more answers, better treatment, and maybe even a cure. So that's why I am so driven on spreading awareness. Awareness can achieve great things, and the motto of the rare disease community is, alone we are rare, together we are strong. If we share our stories, more people will hear us, and great things will be achieved. So again, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've learned something. This has been a pretty educational vlog, and that was my adventure for today. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great night.